Hello. So today I wanted to make these easy, quick start first timer guides for Gimp to start your journey to signature making and graphic design. So I guess what I'll start out with is the program. So this is Gimp. It's actually a free program. I really recommend you download it if you kind of want to follow my tutorials here. You're going to need to download it. And you basically just go on Google Chrome, you type in Gimp, and it's basically the first one. So let's get started. So when you first open it, it's not going to look like mine. It's going to be a lighter gray. You're going to want to go on Windows, recently closed docs. It's going to have something here, and you basically just want to do that. I have it on single window mode. It basically is going to bring up this toolbar, which is very essential to what we're doing today. So I guess what I wanted to start out with was basically making a canvas. So right now you can't really do anything. You try to paint on this, it's not going to work. So you want to go on File, New. Now we're going to be creating signatures, which are smaller graphics, and for Central, the limits are 500 width by 200 height. Signatures are small graphics that are usually rectangles. They could be transparent, but we'll get to that later. So in Central, the limits are 200 height by 500 width, but I'm going to make it by 400 width just because I like using that canvas size. Now that's going to make this little rectangle here, which is what we're going to basically make the signature on. So I guess I'll just go through all of the different all of these different things so you can actually learn what you're dealing with and learning with. So this here is the rectangular selection tool. It lets you select rectangular things. It's pretty important. Well, you won't use it that much, but still, it could be important. On this side, this toolbox thing, you're going to want to just leave all this alone for now. What you're really going to deal with is this tab here. That's your layers tab. That's the most important thing. Actually, every single time you create a new layer, you are actually creating something different to draw on. So if I draw on this layer and I hide it, I still have that white background. And if I create a new layer and paint it with white, now it has this white on it. Very interesting, and you can do a lot of things with it. You can also put all the layers on different modes. So let's say I didn't just have this white background, I had a gradient, which is actually this blend tool thing. You just want to make a gradient. It's really easy. All you do is you pick one. There's all the default ones. You can also make your own, and you just do that like the one I had before. And if you create new layers, and let's say you draw on them or you put pictures and you put it on different different modes for the layer, like grain merge or overlay, there's different things you can accomplish with that. So we're not really going to deal with that right now. We'll get into that later. But just for now, know that there is a layers tab, and you can create new layers by pressing this. You can duplicate them by pressing this. You can move them. You can create groups, which aren't really necessary here. And you can also delete them. So for now, just know that you have layers and you can put them on different modes and opacities, which opacity is kind of like transparency. As you lower it, it gets more or less opaque. So there we go. You have your eraser, which is pretty given. Now there's something about this. So in your background layer, if you have to add an alpha channel, which is going to make it so when you erase, it erases to transparency. And if you create a new layer and you hide this one, now you just have a transparent layer. If you don't have an alpha channel, so if you remove the alpha channel, you won't get the transparency if you erase or anything else. So that's pretty important. I guess I'll talk about these different things again. So the lasso tool is to select different things. You can either draw the things out or you can just go like this. It's very good for rendering. I will make a rendering guide momentarily. The wand selection tool, it selects different areas. You can also change the threshold, which will basically make it so it will select more or less of a certain color based on what you have told it. So for now, we're not going to use that, and you're barely going to use that. You can also select by color. Again, the threshold shows basically how much of the color you want to select, kind of thing. The scissors, you're not really going to use that, but it can also be used to render and stuff. It's not used very much because it's just not really necessary. Yeah, you might use the paths tool. It's a great tool if you want to make nice lines. Again, not really something that you really want to get into right now. Paths are kind of safer than free select, but I don't know. There's also this color picker, which in general just picks the color that's on there. You can sample the merged layers, or you can sample just from a certain layer. There's also the zoom, which you won't need that. You could actually just use this down here and zoom in. It's pretty given. This is obviously to move layers. It's pretty simple. There's also the scaling tool to scale layers or selections if there's anything selected. You can also go on the selection and invert it so it selects everything else, or you can just select nothing at all, which is what I want to do right now. There's all these different ways you can enhance or change a layer for whatever reason. Again, you don't always have to use them. There's the text layer. Pretty interesting, but not needed now. It will make a new layer and you'll be able to use text with it. Again, the eraser, which will erase in transparency if you add an alpha channel, but not right now. It will make your pictures transparent if you do erase with that, so be careful with it unless you want a transparent picture. There's also your pencil tool and your paint tool. Airbrush, it's all pretty given here. Smudge, and you actually can change the rate. I usually like to do my smudges really at like 90 to 100 depending on what I'm doing. Dodge and burn, dodge here will make it everything lighter and burn will make it darker. You can also change the range to the shadows, the midtones, or the highlights, but again, we won't get into that now. There's also the blur, which just blurs it, creates a depth, which again we'll talk about later. And yeah, that's about it for the first things in Gimp. Basically, the only things I wanted to tell you was how to create a canvas and start. So it's basically file new, 400 by 200, 500 by 200, whatever you want, and you basically can make new layers and start putting things in and renders, and yeah.